The puppet class of politicians cannot come up with a solution to the looming economic crisis that threatens to destroy just about everyone except the parasitic billionaires who pay their bills and who rigged up this trade war in the first place. Why those politicians, selected and promoted for their incompetence and their inability to do anything but follow orders, they cannot solve the problem because they and their masters are the problem. But I can offer you, the working woman, the working man, a real solution right now, one that will bring a new golden age to ordinary people and will end the domination by the billionaires. We will use federal law, the Constitution, and basic human dignity to solve the economic crisis in a permanent manner. We will do so, and we do not need investment from banks or lobbyists or campaign contributions or PR firms. We don't give a damn about the stock market or the needs of derivative traders. The only condition for success is that citizens have the bravery to stand up to evil when it raises its ugly head at every corner, and the commitment to take real risks for the sake of justice and for the sake of our nation as a whole, even for those whom we cannot see, whom we do not know. The CIA, the Pentagon, the various private contractors for homeland security that carry out false flag attacks and propagate lies in the media are not the ultimate sources of this criminality that reeks like a putrid corpse in every corner of the United States. Blaming the CIA is but part of their game. No, it is a class of billionaire families and individuals in the United States, in Israel, in Britain, in France, in Germany, Japan, China, Russia, and elsewhere who are behind the current chaos, who stirred it up in the first place. The majority of those billionaires are Americans, although they could not care less about Americans. They rigged up the 9/11 incident to establish a hidden military dictatorship which cannot be named, to launch wars that killed millions and cost us trillions of dollars. These are all taboo subjects. They printed up $30 trillion or more in counterfeit money through the Federal Reserve using quantitative easing, COVID relief, and other forms of market stimulus and fudged Pentagon spending as a fig leaf. They paid themselves that money and used it to buy up homes and other assets from you in an enormous economic fraud. They launched the COVID-19 reign of terror using their operatives around the world and destroyed the lives of working people while creating a shadow dictatorship for themselves and allowing a handful of multinationals to take over the entire economy, establishing a neo-feudal order. All of these acts were violations of our sacred Constitution, which determines what is and what is not the government. All of these acts were violations of federal law, massive criminal conspiracies. All of these acts were immoral and downright evil. We do not need to seek peace through diplomacy. We do not need to reduce federal spending. We do not have to reduce the number of vaccinations for children. We can do all of that later once the rule of law is restored and the government follows the needs, the will of the people. No, we have to make our demands first and then take action based on those demands. We must demand that the assets, at home and abroad, of all those billionaires involved in these crimes are seized, and that all the documents related to these crimes are declassified and released in toto to the public. All the billionaires were involved, or they wouldn't be billionaires, and all their assets are targets for our demands. We must demand that the billionaires be treated like we would be treated if we had committed such horrific crimes. It really is that simple. They must be jailed, all of their assets must be seized, and all the documentation must be made public. That will bring in more than enough funding to turn the economy around. They must pay to compensate every victim of vaccinations. They must pay every person injured in those wars, and they must pay the fines and the penalties as well. That money should not be paid by government, because being paid by government means being paid by the people, the victims themselves. There will not be much left for the billionaires after we're done with that. Taking them down will bring trillions of dollars in revenue for our country. The reform of the Federal Reserve will assure that we have a stable economy that is not based on debt and that inflation ceases to be a problem. Telling the truth about the war machine will at last bring us real peace. What stands in our way? We have been dumbed down, but we can rise above that. We have been discouraged, but we can find hope within ourselves. We have been misled, but we can find our own moral compass. If the federal and state courts, the Congress, the local, state, and federal governments are controlled by moneyed interests that ignore the law and the Constitution, then we must form our own provisional governments that follow the law and the Constitution and that confront them. We must establish our own constitutional courts to bring them to trial. After that, we will present constitutional and legal arguments and then directives that come from the people to the military, the police, and other forces empowered to protect the citizens in accord with the Constitution. Those directives, those orders, will be that they arrest these criminals and seize their assets for the benefit of the people, that they track them down on their private islands and in their underground bunkers. Again, the demands, the rulings, the commands from our people's assemblies and courts will be constitutional, will be legal, and above all, will be ethical. The fake governments and the fake economy using fake money that are run by the billionaires shall have no legitimacy, shall have no dominion. But this effort is not about me. It is about you. As the poet William Ernest Henley put it in his poem Invictus, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.